So this morning, I think we're gonna open. I'm sorry about this, Auntie, uh, but we're gonna open with. I hear uh, when the Buddha calls from afar. So if you never had the great joy and pleasure of meeting our teacher, Buddha Master Dorji Chang Buddha III, you really missed something in this life. And I'm sorry for you for that, but we did. And so today I was thinking about something the other day. And when the thought came to me, it was like every once in a while, I can accept that Buddha Master left this world in the human form a month ago. And one reason I can accept it is because he's very much more present with me now. I think he just started saying, you all just keep looking at the personality. So I got to go so you all can handle your business and do your work. Don't leave it all on me. And this has really helped us to do that. But the thing is, sometimes I have a question in my mind, and it's a question like I wish I could just ask Buddha Master and he'll tell me, instead of just being lazy, and part of it is that we have to figure these things out for ourselves. That's why Shakyamuni said, be a light unto your own feet and a lamp unto your own path. So we have to really understand reliance. And reliance is not just relying on the completed work of someone else, what they accomplished, but you have to rely on your own accomplishment. And if you don't have any, I can understand why we might feel, impotent or frustrated or afraid or confused, or because we can move in this world and have our being only according to our own level of accomplishment. So it's important, we talk a lot about practice, but it's practice until we accomplish something, and so sometimes I'm thinking, because I got my charge and the work that I have to do, and I'm like, I have a question, and I pose the question, and I'm wondering, like, where's the answer going to come from? Because if I have the question, it means what? I don't have the answer. Yeah, if I have the question, then I don't have the answer. And that's where we find ourselves in a little conundrum around things. So I was thinking that the other day about a decision that I have to make, have the question, and I don't have the answer. That's why there's not confusion, but I could say that there is hesitation. And then suddenly it was like just so plain to me, about how we pay homage to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions. And some do to one Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha. I mean, he said himself that there were many others in his Sangha from the very beginning that also awakened. And Vacchagotta said, good, because if it was only you, I wouldn't be interested in joining your group. And so, so it lets us know that we should be pressing towards the prize, of awakening that comes only through realizing or actualizing our own accomplishment. So we have to keep that in mind. But at the same time, we are relying upon the proof of the awakening of others. And that at the end of this, like, what's the end game? It's not at the end we all die, and then And to attain means not only do we die physically, from this body, but that we go into extinction. Then what the heck is the point? So that would be nihilism. And the Buddha said, I definitely do not teach that. So that means that upon awakening, there is something, even though this temporary body will drop off, there will be a separation of this physical body in the way that we know. We speak of physical only being what we can connect with, but that's not the only physicality in the universe. There's a lot of physicality that, is 99.99 to 0.01 that we're connecting with the physicalities of the universe. It's just what's within our little bit of bandwidth, or what's within our capacity to recognize. But there's so much more. And so if we try to drag the Dharma down into what we know, what we have known, and what we can observe with our limited bandwidth, then we're missing, like what's really the point. And so all of this started rolling through my mind simply because I asked the question about, how I should do a thing, and in my mind, pondering how I should do it, because I didn't think that I possessed the wisdom to execute it rightly. So that I'm thinking about doesn't have the capacity is the Panyawadi. That's the part that we're trying to let go of, right? Mm-hmm. So we have to recognize that the one who poses these questions, that's the one that has to go away, because that is the barrier. When we talk about giving up the self and we talk about entering into non-self, we're talking about the barrier of personality and clamping or grasping around what we can see and make contact with our and I'm going to open in a minute, with our limited sensory gates. Then the only way to go beyond that is to uproot that sense of self. And the more we do that, the more we connect with everything that's available in the universe, that which is impermanent, but also that which comes beyond the impermanence, because moves beyond impermanence, because we have overcome cause and effect. So this is a world of cause and effect. That's why there's so much suffering. And he speaks to us about how to move beyond this world of cause and effect, because that's what produces the changeability. I walk outside, it's a great day. I don't look and step on the street and get hit by a bus. There was a cause that produced the effect of the pain that comes after that. I walk out the same day, I look to my left and I see the bus and I wait and let it go by, then I don't get hit by the bus. And so there's a different effect based on the cause of me looking and seeing the bus and stopping. But I could go out and if we look at that, we can see that every waking moment, not like sleep and wake, but I mean, every actual moment of our lives is being worked out through causality, cause and effect. He simply says that there is, a state beyond that. He said, I used the word state, but state is not really right. It's just that you have to try to use words to describe something, but it doesn't actually describe the thing. It cannot describe the thing. If I say I love you, what does that mean? That only means what you think it means to you. And if I say I love you, it's not the actual loving, it's just a word used that tries to express how much I care or something like that. But it is not the thing. That's what I'm saying. And when we start living a life where the words become the thing, then we miss life. And we misunderstand, and we cannot correctly apply the teachings. Now, all of this came up for me. I mean, I got a Dharma talk from Prajna or from I think I got a Dharma talk from Buddha Master because I was asking the question, like to myself concerning Buddha Master, like, couldn't you just waited, like 2 or 3 more months to give me some more instructions, so I don't have to figure this out. I don't want to make a misstep. It was something like that, so I'm talking to myself, but I'm reminiscing around Buddha Master, right? And so I get this whole bum rush of information into my head that I just shared with you. And so then I started thinking about what the Buddha said. He said, it is good. It is good to recollect the accomplishment of the holy ones. He says, and one is thinking, I too enter into the joy of the Dharma like they did. I too can reach states of attainment then like they did. I too, and this is the whole process. I'm trying to tell you now, when you're confused or you don't know what to do or you don't know what step to take, how you get out of that state, because it is simply a state. And you have to go to what it is that you hold and embrace to be true, unless fear and doubt is what you hold to, is what you hold to and embrace as true, So this is where the rubber meets the road, and how we really start to live a powerful life in the Dharma that makes us useful. Otherwise, we just become, we become slothful, we become lazy, we procrastinate, we fall back into old habits to just kind of soothe our very mild disappointment that, I think there's a goal, but I don't think I can attain it. All of these things come up, and so we lose our vigilance and we lose our diligence. But when those times come, because we are still steeped, in ignorance and delusion, but recognize them as ignorance and delusion, and turn one's face from that, to the opposite. Now, in this book with Shantideva, he's talking about, and we've been on chapter 3. We're looking at chapter 3, and he's talking so much about, it's introducing the practice of rejoicing and expressing happiness that beings can move from lower to higher realms, not just lower to higher realms within the space of physicality, but also mentally from lower to higher realms. And actually, the only way you get from one realm to the other is you also have to move mentally. In your mental state creates a condition for you, is what I'm saying. So it's not so much what is actually happening externally, it's the mind state you have around what's happening that either gives you more strength, more tenacity, more understanding, more patience, more joy, or that gives you more sorrow, more grief, more anger, more sense of being defeated, all of that's within you, And so, and we like talk therapy. We like to go talk it out with people, and after we talk that, I feel better, but feeling better is only temporary when you talk it out with people. What you have to do is you got to work it out. You got to work it out within yourself. And this is the higher training. It's not necessarily that we have to learn so much more, because there's 88,000 Dharma gates. Choose one and just be really, really good at it. Go all the way through the door. I saw, it's bad. Sometimes I look on my phone and they have, I think it's called TikTok. And I don't know how I got it. Just one day, like when you open and you see something and you push the button, and then now I've got it. It's there. But on TikTok, there was a person, and the caption said, TD what? And they're talking about TD Bank because this was a lady going into TD Bank. Anybody see that last week? Okay. It was because that's my bank. But she was opening the door to go into TD Bank. You know, it was a huge, like 12-foot glass door. And when she pulled the handle to open the door, the whole door came down off her hinges. And they were saying, TD who? You know, and I thought it was kind of, well, bad, none. I shouldn't say it was funny, but it planted something in my mind, though. You know, and that's why all worldly Dharma is Buddha Dharma, because I was thinking like, yeah, that's what I want. When I go to open a Dharma gate, I want the whole door to fall off on me, you know. And so that's what came to my mind. You know, it's a way of being in the world and a way of looking at things in the world. And that's one reason why there can be a lot of sorrow in the world, but yet the sorrow doesn't touch us in that way because we know how to uproot sorrow within our own selves, within our own life. And it doesn't mean that we don't feel something, but that we're not overcome by sorrow. You know, so that is that's a freedom in itself. And we have to recognize these freedoms, to walk in them, to have the strength to do things that need to be done to make a difference in the world. And so in the same way, I understand there was a conversation last week about merit. And I mean, merit making is just like, I use the analogy all the time of walking through a dusty field, and then you just naturally get dust on your shoes. In other words, that's the reaping of what you sow. If you sow good seeds, you reap a harvest. If you sow bad seeds, then you get, you know, a deficient harvest or a diseased harvest or whatever. You know, so it's not personal, it's not punishment. And we're not working to earn merit. Merit automatically co-arises in accordance with the deeds that we do. How first of all, our attitude towards what we do, our a sense of whether we think we're doing so much because we do what we do, and whether we are grasping around what we do as that gives us an elevated sense of ourselves, and so it's the mindset or the intention in which we do something. It's the attitude in which we carry it out. You know, it's the non-grasping around the importance of it, although it may be very important, not thinking it's so important and I did it. You know, all of that goes into it. And when one does not have that kind of thought as they, you know, carry out deeds throughout the day, then there is a fullness of merit. And to the extent that they do have those thoughts, you know, some a little bit mixed. You know how things are a little bit mixed. We're a little bit good and a little bit selfish, you know, like that. And it takes that constant recognizing, oh, that was a little bit selfish right there. Or you were doing it because you really wanted to do it, but you really did want somebody to know that you did it. Why did you really need somebody to know that you did it? And we have to think about it, ponder why, you know. And once we begin to investigate in this kind of way, you know, our sense around Dharma things or around spiritual things will heighten, and we will see, oh, that was so unnecessary. Actually, that's a time waster, you know, or whatever. And little by little, we will drop that off because all we have known up till now is ourself, and in a certain way, from a certain perspective, you know. And then some of us just get just get sick of ourselves, and then we start looking for something else, something higher than so there's a song we used to sing that said, when my heart is overwhelmed, lead me to that place that's even higher than and we start to have this desire for entering into a different kind of abode, a different place of living and being. And as that becomes our aspiration, then just naturally there becomes less self-grasping, because we really want less self-grasping. As that becomes our aspiration, we start entering into the great field of merit that comes from the one who is not self-grasping and self-seeking. But it's hard to make yourself not self-grasping. That has to be a naturally arising desire based on the cleansing and the washing of one's heart and mind through the water of the word, I call it, but and that Dhamma touching you in a certain place and just vibrating within you, giving you a desire, giving just a little taste, so that you have a desire for more. I remember I used to love figs. And one day I ate a whole box of fig Newtons, and like they help you with your bowels. But besides just having a really, really, really bad case of diarrhea, like to just look at a fig now, and now this is that was about 65 years ago. I think I was 6 years old. I still to this day, I just think figs are so unnecessary. We do not need figs. But that's because I got the whole thing at one time and I couldn't tolerate it, So we have to just take what we can tolerate. We don't have to denigrate what's left. Just take what we can tolerate. But where we get off is we start denigrating what's left. And so we close the door to being able to move further. It usually takes a catastrophe in your life now for you to be like, why is this happening to me? Before you can take up the inquiry again, because in our grasping kind of way, we also grasp after knowledge. And so we only take what we can accommodate and maybe sit a little bit more right outside the door, so that if I wasn't completely full, I could just take a little bit more, just enough to take the next step. And so he says, and we're not helpless. He said, just because there is no longer an appearance in this physical world to the one who is accomplished, there is still the availability through the attainment of the powers that go with accomplishment. So now I'm hearing the voice of Buddha Master say, so what do you think about me? That's all. So I had to ask myself, well, what do I think? When he was here, I thought he was a Buddha. Now that he's left the physical body, I think he was a man. What do I think? What do I think? I have to ask myself that question. And I did ask myself that question. And where do you think a Buddha goes? Does it go into extinction? I had to ask myself that question. And some of you who are his disciples, you might have to ask that question too. The Buddha, Shakyamuni said, like all Buddhas have the same mind. If I thought that he was enlightened, and he has the same mind as Shakyamuni Buddha, where do I think both of them are? What do I think their capacity is? I have to ask myself that question. You have to ask yourself that question. And hope that whatever answer we come up with is right. Because if it's not, then somebody's going to suffer loss if they come up with the wrong conclusion, which is not going to be me. That's all I'm saying. I can come up with my conclusions, not based on wishing, but based on the example and the congruency with the Dharma and the signs following the accomplishment. If you've never met anyone accomplished, then I can understand how you could have so many questions. But when you have, you have. So I'm reading Shantideva this week, and it's talking about rejoicing in all the holy beings, right? And are these beings that I met in person? Absolutely not. Are these, beings who talked to me? No, absolutely not. But they did talk to me through their teachings. And even if the teachings are degenerating because interpretations are getting worse as we are in the Dharma ending age, there's still so much truth. I mean, if you go into a pitch black room, you can just light a match and you'll have some light. So we may not have all the light that we want, but there's still some light. And as long as there's some light, you can just like match after match if you needed to cross over to the other side of the room. So that's the joy I have in times like this, and in times when our great teacher has left the world, and no, I may not see him physically, but if I can penetrate the meaning of the words, and if I recognize that there is still that life, it's just not subject to the things our lives are subject to. And I can ask a question, and I can know that that answer will come, because that being still exists, maybe not in the form that I once knew him. And to the extent I can enter into that, then I can find all of my answers. So we're going to rejoice in the holy beings this morning before we go into the Dhamma. And I'm rejoicing in Buddha Master this morning. So that's the song we'll open up with. Find your own way. Actually, you're visiting with me today. So, like if you go to somebody's house, and they're serving spaghetti, you can't say, I'm gonna go look at your refrigerator because I want fish today. You just enjoy the spaghetti, right? Because that's what the host prepared. Okay, I'm ready. Pray to His Holiness. When living without hope. When my heart is hurt and my mind can't see, He's calling me. Come on up with me, son. Going down to see the Buddha. He's a youngin'. He gives me energy. I'm taking my thing off so y'all want to see, because I'm happy. So I want to see. Nice. Out of the way. Living without hope. When my heart is hurt, my mind, I see Him calling me. When I'm living on the ropes. Going down, I see the Buddha light saving me. I fear illusions in the human world. Their minds attachments to impermanence. When our thoughts subside, my thoughts, body, and mind become liberated. I realize, the Buddha's calling me. Freedom, of joy, when my mind has no hindrance, how could it be muddy? Our formless nature cannot be sullied. When mind's not placed on any one point, it's the end of suffering. We may accomplish His holiness so as you chop with the earth. Due to the Buddha's infinite forbearance and great compassion, we have found the supreme teachings for attaining liberation. Namadorji Chambu III does not forsake helping limp pigs attain liberation. If you want to be free from suffering, let go of mental knowledge and listen to Buddha. Calling, 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 calling. Okay, now let's study. And where are we in the book? Books are good, but you know, nothing beats direct experience. That's all I gotta say. '87. What's 87? Page 87? We're never gonna get through this book.
Okay, yeah, verse 4:22.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back a little bit.
No, 67.
Okay, thank you. All right.
21. Go back a little bit. I finished at 18.
Okay, you finished at 18 and we're starting at 21.
But you know. But it's, you know, looking.
Well, how much have we went through? Anybody as happy as I am today? I just want to know because I'm swinging from the rafters, and not because anything good is going on. I can tell you, I'm suffering over here. There's some stuff going on in my life, but yet, you know, it is separate and apart from me. That's what I'm saying, and that's how we can actually make it through our life. There was. If those who see me entertain a thought of anger or devotion, may these states supply the cause whereby they're good and their wishes are fulfilled. You see, I'm doing Dharma right now. If we don't go any further in this book, it says, if those who see me entertain a thought of devotion, may these states supply the cause whereby your good and your wishes are fulfilled. So we think it's so much that we have to do, you know, and we're running around trying to do so much. But these are the things that we need to enter into, because this is what will change or create a different condition than what presently exists on the level of misfortune, you know, in people's lives. See, that's why it's so important. I mean, don't watch TV and watch what's going on in you know, in all of these places and destruction if you can't handle it. If you can't, you know, run with the big dog, stay on the porch, because all you do is join forces with evil and add more pressure and energy in the world. So you need to get yourself together. So rousing yourself on your own most holy faith so that you can be a container. You can carry the space so that something else can arise and emerge. You know, everything before it appears, you know, has to exist or be created out of nothingness. So something comes out of nothingness. So nothing can't be like nothing in the way we think of it, and emptiness can't be empty in the way that we think of emptiness. But we have wrapped around the word. We wrapped around the word and we've defined what empty is. And because of that, we can't see empty as containing anything. But if you could think of empty as the precursor for everything, then you'd have a different view of the expansiveness of emptiness. Oh my goodness, I can't explain it to you like that. Because truly, there are not the words. Not even the Buddha had the words. He would always say, it's like this. If you read the suttas, he say, it's like a this, it's like a that. He was always using a simile or allegory or, or some way to try to tell you, to point to it. Like not the moon, fingers pointing that away. It's something like that. And when we stop grasping so tightly around things, and that's our intellectualism. That's why, in that song we just wrote, when we submitted it, because we wrote it as in homage to Buddha Master. We can write songs in homage to, just like they did in the old days, new days. Doesn't matter. We can write songs of homage, expressing our gratitude and our great respect, for those who show us the way. And so when we wrote this song, the high level masters at the temple sent us no back. And on a line we had in there, and they said, that's not Buddha Dharma. Take that out. If you're putting Buddha Master in your song, take that line out. He said, replace it with this. And the line that they replaced it with, like, honestly, this was just maybe 4 months ago or something like that. So it wasn't like a long time ago. And now I understand this was just 4 months ago. And the line that they changed was, or what they replaced whatever we had written with, was let go of hindrance of knowledge. Because it was saying that's what's stopping you. What we already know is what's preventing us from going further. You think about it. You think about it when you get put up against a new concept, a new idea, a new way of interpreting. He said that the ordinary, untaught, run-of-the-mill person, when he comes up against this, he tenaciously clings to his views and he releases them with great difficulty. And when I read that, I said, oh, so, okay, I'm like a person says, I know what I know. So if you come with something else, I'm going to put it up against what I know. Okay, and that's okay, that's reasonable. But he says, clings tightly to his views, tenaciously to his views, and releases them with great difficulty. So I have to find that sweet spot between knowing what I know, holding what I know, and also allowing something else to come. That might uproot or overturn what I thought I knew. It may change, it may alter it, but not completely uproot it. It may give me another way of looking at something and seeing that it could, and also that it could be this way and it could be this way, not either or, but this and this. And so this is how we open ourselves up to the Dharma. If you open yourself up in this way, like the Dharma is everywhere. So like you'll get a bum rush, a flood of wisdom. But if you close off in that I know way, in that intellectualism has a certain kind of smell, and it's full of selfing and it's full of I. And anyone who's been out of the room of that can recognize it, the odor of it when it presents itself. It's the conceit. And he said it's only when one moves beyond the conceit that one can truly understand. He said that's why he didn't teach the Four Noble Truths at the beginning. He says when a student came to him, or when someone came to him inquiring, about life, and he started teaching the Dharma, he did not start with the Four Noble Truths because they don't have the capacity to understand it, except from their own side on a worldly level, with a mind steeped in greed, hatred, and delusion. So what was the point? So all of us started with the Four Noble Truths. We just, we just went to the back of the book and we started from the back of the book. Chinese books, they go in the opposite direction. It's curious to me because when I buy notebooks, I start with writing from the back of the notebook and go to the front. But anyway, we started, but we went to the back in our inquiry, right? We started with the Four Noble Truths. Right? Okay, in our meditation practice, in our active practice, which we take meditation, and that's at the end of the Noble Eightfold Path. We started at the back again, just jumping in feet first, thinking, oh, because this is so elementary, we can grasp it. And so we're all turned around, all befuddled, not making progress. And it's all right in front of your face. I mean, we don't think that there's any quality or benefit to rejoicing. I tell you, Buddhists are some of the saddest people I've ever seen. If I wasn't already in it, I wouldn't want it myself, because I see no joy. I see no life. I see no, just always have to have a teaching. And so if some of us, we have to go back, I dare say all of us who picked it up, starting from the back of the book, going forward. But now that we've read the end of the story, we don't want to go back and start at the beginning. We just want, like Jeannie, just nod and then we have it, but it's going to require a lot of work. It's going to require a lot of taking down within ourselves in a certain way, uprooting false knowledge, uprooting, false understanding, and getting true understanding. So I know you all discussed merit making last week, and there were different questions and conversations around what does it mean to give up all, and does it mean, I think, well, didn't I just read a Dharma lecture? Was it? Oh, it was at the retreat. You all weren't there. Retreat Sunday? No.
It started last Tuesday and then it went into Sunday.
Okay. Last Sunday then. Last Tuesday and last Sunday, when I was reading about a particular disciple of Buddha Masters, and he really wanted to serve the Dharma, and he said, like, I'll do anything. I give up everything to serve the Dharma, And so he says, I want to be your disciple, and you can just give me any job to do. He says, okay, well, first I want you to divorce your wife so that you can focus fully. And he said, okay, no problem, I can do that. He said that then next, I think he had to, now I want you to give up your house, and I want you to, I'm gonna give you a tent you can live in. You can tent out in the backyard. We use the house for Dharma things, so you're not allowed to go into the house. And he said, okay, no problem. I can do that. I'll be glad to do that. He said, I want you to give up your children too. He says, fine, I'll go and change my last name tomorrow. I'll have no connection with them. And so Buddha said, now, you've agreed to do this and agreed to do this and agreed to do this. And he says, but your whole heart's not in it. You don't really want to do those things. You can do those things, and maybe you will do those things, but inside of you, there's some sorrow about that. There's some sorrow. So you haven't fully renounced. Although you say you have fully renounced, you have not fully renounced. And so he says, now I don't really want you to do those things. I just want you to know, no matter what you say to me, I see. So when one's eyes are open, they can see what's what, regardless of what people say. Regardless, I'll never leave you, whatever, because there's a clarity that comes that one can know the level of commitment and the level of devotion. So no, we don't have to give up anything. What we are renouncing is our attachment to the value of those things in comparison to what we say we want, our wish or our great goal, which is the attainment of the Dharma. That's where the comparison is made. It's not in how much you give away, but where your heart is, your treasure is also. Your treasure is not just your money, but it is your money. Your treasure also, but it's your availability. It's where you're thinking all the time, what can I do to help that be better? It's an all in is what I'm saying. So I know who's all in and who's not all in. All in doesn't mean you live at Heartwood. You understand what I'm saying? All in is descriptive of how you walk out your life in the world. Not with Heartwood, but in all ways, with everybody. That's when one can overlook a slight and tolerate a fault. That's when one can make sure somebody else has something, even if they sacrifice or give up something else that they wanted for themselves, because we start with self and others equal, right? And then we go to others are greater than self, because we're starting from self is greater than others. So it takes a lot to right and turn that ship up right, and some think, so somebody wrote me and said, I'm not going to be able to come to the retreat in June because we're going on a vacation to Hawaii and name of this whole list of places. So I'm not going to be able to come to the retreat. I said, so you're not going to be able to graduate, period. And I'm okay with that. Hope you are too, because that was more important. He could save up to take that trip or finance that trip, but not to come get the Dharma. Then don't waste my time, because you're not committed to your own path. It's not for me. I got to get my own. You got to get your own, but when you're, but that's how we know it's nothing wrong. I'm not upset with him. I'm just not going to carry any of his burden for his own attainment, because I cannot. But he can know where he is and how important it is to him to finish his training. It's not important to him. Then, I'm not saying it's not important to me. It's only as important to me as it can only be as important to me as it is to him, because he has to do the fulfillment. See? And so some people think well, that's cold and that's not, that's no understanding. That's perfectly understanding. And leaving it with that person to decide what's meaningful for them. And so sometimes we get the wrong idea about these things. We get real sappy and sentimental around them, and we're actually hindering people, trying to speak to them as if they only have the understanding of a 10-year-old. Don't even give them the respect of speaking adult to adult, but you got to find these soft words, to make them feel understood or appreciated or whatever, And these are the things that we have to grow out of, because these are the things that tether us to self. So that if we don't get it, if we don't get acknowledged, if we don't get praised, if we don't get appreciated, then we suffer. We're not happy. And so all the time we spend together is around propping people up. We never get to the Dharma. The Dharma is a stripping down, because it's saying that this covering that we have, that we've had for eons, it's what's obscuring the Buddha nature that is there. That's vast, that's expansive, And he says one thing that can help you is rejoicing in the holy beings. Rejoicing in their accomplishment gives you an appetite to do the work that's required to accomplish. And sometimes we're around here talking when we're working. I don't think we get that much work done, do we? Because every time we have a work meeting, it ends up being like Dharma discussion, 95% of it. That's why we're so slow. But we rejoice in talking about it. We were like, well, this is hard work. I mean, like leaves you nowhere to hide. I mean, you can really look at yourself. But I'm glad somebody told me the emperor has no clothes on. You know, it's like really getting down to it so that this thing takes up, this path becomes life for you. And it's not just a study, is what I'm saying. So it doesn't matter if we never get through this book. We need to master, really catch hold to, and begin to cultivate, implement, and master the principles on. Just take any page, master that one. You know, don't worry so much about getting through the book is what I'm saying, because the joy is in the living, you know, and as one attains to this kind of knowledge, it's different. So this helps. If nothing else, I can help you develop some patience. So look what he says after that at 3:16. I'm leaving out the thought of anger because I was talking about devotion today and the joy of that. For those who see me entertain a thought of devotion, may these states supply the cause whereby their good and their wishes are fulfilled. That's why we have a choir. That's why we sing. We sing because we're happy, but we also sing hoping that these states produce the cause whereby your joy is also fulfilled. If you can't get that, you're really in a woeful state. If singing annoys you, I don't know what to say. If somebody else's happy is irritating to you, you know, then you need to take a good dose of irritation so that you can rise above that resentment because you're so unhappy. When you begin to do that, you'll start rejoicing in the happiness of others. And there's the Bodhisattva right there. One just transforms into the Bodhisattva. They don't have to study how to become a Bodhisattva, you know, because studying won't get you in there. It's when the heart leaps over and becomes alive in real time. It's something that comes out of us, not something that goes in. Are you with me? So when we have this kind of thought, then we can work hard. We can put forth, because you know, basically the choir is Santi, you know, but the rest of us give what we have. He keeps us on pitch. The rest of us give what we have, but we give it with this mind and we give it with this heart. And that's what gives it its value, not the sound. If you're listening for the sound can't help you. But if you catch the wave of the devotion, you catch the wave of the energy, then that is what can ferry you across the turbulent places in your life. And that's why we sing. Not because there's nothing going on in our life. You know, we put our shoes and socks on all the same. So it's just like misunderstanding how to apply the teachings, you know. But if we can take the teachings and search for the truth in it, what am I missing in this? What is there for me? What is there that releases my suffering? What is there that gives me freedom? What is there that restores my joy? You know, if I ever had any, or gives me joy if I never had any. What is there there present, that's life for me. And that's what we should be looking for instead of, well, my teacher taught it like this. Oh, no, well, we don't believe in that. Oh, that's the cultural baggage. Oh, that's, And so there comes a time that you work with that as much as you can. But, if people don't want something, you don't have to like just keep offering it. If they don't want it, you don't have to offer it to them. Go look for somebody who wants it. That's what makes sense, right? And that's not being mean. That's Buddha Master has a term for everything. These 3 words, mean such and such and such. Those 3 words right there. But what he's talking about is let what you do count. If there's soil over here and there's rocks over here, and you're trying to grow some food, there's no point going and planting them in the rocks. And there's no point in somebody saying, oh, that's so uncompassionate, because those rocks really need help. It's better to plant it in the soil so that there can be a bountiful harvest. That's common sense. We got to get some common sense. And then we get uncommon sense. But if we try for the uncommon before we even have any common sense, we're going to get all turned around. That's why we are turned around, starting in the back of the book. Read the end, and then just like we want to be there. But there are conditions for being there. And if we rejoice in knowing the conditions bit by bit, and not just knowing them, but because you don't know them until you actually enter them. You can't read the conditions and say, got it. You have to actually enter into the experiences to truly know them. And finding joy in that, even when some of them don't feel so good. Now, if they feel bad enough, you only want to do it one more time. If it doesn't feel bad enough, it's mixed with some reminiscing about good as well. You might do it 5 more times, or 100 more times, or 1,000 more times. But as one's mind, renunciation then is not giving up everything at all. So completely missed the boat on that. It was more like what you want to do, you do. And what you don't want to do, you don't do. Renunciation is more like that. It's more like having the will to do, and then being skillful enough to be able to do. And setting our sights on the standard and not on what others are doing or not doing. Keeping the bar where it is and keeping our eye on the prize. And whatever way we contribute towards others moving towards that, it can be a lot or it can be a little. But it doesn't matter. It's giving one's all. One's all may be very small. It could be a bolt that holds a bridge. I read the other day about a bridge that came down because a bolt rusted out. And by the traffic moving, it was strategic bolt, and that portion of the bridge collapsed. It's not who's in front and who's in back. It's not who's the lead singer and who's the background singer. It's not who gives a lot of money and who gives a little. bit of money. None of those givings qualify us for anything. It's just whatever we contribute with our whole heart, knowing we have contributed that brings us a certain freedom or release inside. And so then we can walk out our life. We can enjoy our things. And we can enjoy having things because they don't have us. We can, we become more generous in sharing our things because our treasure, we put it where our heart is. So it's just a matter of where is your heart. You know? We start to know what are true limitations versus what's just self-seeking or self-centeredness, and where, or what's a true limitation. So if I come to help you ferry across, Panyadeepa fell yesterday, and Kay called us. We were in here in a meeting, and she said, "Can you come help? Because I can't get him up." You know, so me and Santi ran over, and without Santi, we couldn't have gotten him up. Kay and I aren't, we're not, that's not strong enough. He's 6 something. Kay is, I don't know, 4 feet. I'm 4.5, 5. I think about, yeah. You know, so she just doesn't even have, you know, the height, much less. She's in her 80s. She's a healthy 80. I'm in my 70s, not a healthy 70. You know, we just can't, we can't pick him up. So today but Santi, with the one arm of a strong man, you know, got him right up in that chair. And some of it is feeling comfortable that your helpers can lift you. You know what I'm saying? He was not that confident in us. You know, we're like Mutt and Jeff running through there doing things for him. It's like it would be comical. Well, it is comical, you know. And so today is his other. We have somebody comes in and helps us a few times a week, and she's there, but she's big. She's like, I don't know, 275 pounds. She sumo, you know, and I'm so happy on the days that she's there. I'm like, you know, he needs a shower. You know what? Because she strong arm, she can pick him up, and he has confidence in her. You know what? Can you hold a rail? Can you hold a rail, Panyadeepa? Can you push, Panyadeepa? Can you help us? Can you push? You know, she comes in, okay, Deep, I got you. You know, give me your hand. You know, I got you. You're not going to fall. You know, but if we hold him, what Kay said when she was trying to keep falling, he fell on her. You know, because I said, did he hurt himself? I said, no, because he fell on me. You know, so, but she's like, give me your hand. I got you, Deep. Okay, let's stay. Next, you know, he's like standing up. So I think I realized, hey, the problem is not him as much as it is his team. He doesn't have a lot of confidence in that team. Like, that's okay. I'll just stay right here. You know, and so it's something like that. You know, if you are weak, don't go out and try to convince people to rely on you because you're weak. Get strong and then go, is what I'm saying. So the most important thing is not going, it's what? Getting strong. And your strength creates a space for you. He said, why should I be afraid of the joy, the pleasure? He used the word that we've translated as pleasure. Why should I be afraid of the pleasure that is not born of this world? He said, and then I was, because, you know, he was bad ascetic, the Buddha was. I mean, 1 grain of rice a day, flagellating himself with the bead whip thingy. You know, he did all these things, you know, trying to beat down the body until he almost died. And this little girl comes along and sees this emaciated he said his skin had turned black, and he was just completely on the throes of death. And she comes along and she gives him something like milk, whatever it was, but she gives him something. And he said, I revived. And that little bit of reviving I had was enough to know that what I was doing, that's not the way. And he abandoned asceticism. So if he prescribed a certain kind of lifestyle that to us appears ascetic, then maybe we have to examine what that was and what was trying to be done with the practice. Because, he didn't leave them. He said, now all of you go out, and don't any two go in the same direction. And he said, and teach what you have learned. He said, teach what you know. Teach what you know. So that makes a space for all of us, to share what we know. And we should be like him at the end when he was dying. And they said, well, wait, before you died, you didn't appoint a successor. Who's going to be our teacher? He said, when did I ever say I was your teacher? Of course, he said it all the time. But he was trying to help them understand something. And that's when he said, be a light, seek out your own salvation. And I think he added something like that's similar to with trembling and fear, just knowing how brief time is, how quickly everything fades. And before you know it, your opportunity will be gone. How shall you use the time you have left? And what are you asking? I won't even say requiring. That might be too strong a word for some of you, but it's a word I use for me. What am I requiring of myself? And give that. And don't be fooled by what that is. If it's not a lot, don't think it's a lot. If it's not a little, don't think it's a little. Just let everything be just what it is. And as we start walking in that kind of freshness, then we will be, there's a kind of truth that goes with it. No, that's what this is all about, the truth. There'll be a kind of truthfulness that goes with it. And that's what people will see. No, we're not perfect. No, we don't always do everything right. But we can examine that and do better. And we can consider others in that same way. Give them the benefit of the doubt. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I said, I never put anybody out of Heartwood. Although I talk bad sometimes, like you don't have to go away mad, but you do have to go away. I say that so that I don't have to do that. You with me? I want them like this spot on be on notice, so that they can be circumspect, so that they don't have to do that. But I never put anyone out. When one knows that it's time to go, they go. So it's your own going and coming. Doesn't have anything to do with me. Because your life is your life. And I respect that. I think, I'm not sure we did this. This is why I have a gazillion books that I haven't gotten through in my library because I can take 2 lines of a book. And by the time I finish expanding that into all the spaces it goes, it's like we did, what was that art we did? And I'm through now. What was that art we did? We did acrylic paint pouring, and it was like you have these vials of paint. And so, we'll see that says like you pour one on and it like kind of runs on the board. And then you pour another in it. And as you just pour the next paint color in it, it creates, I don't know how, I think it has some oil in it too that helps it move around, the paint move around. And it starts creating these beautiful pictures, these beautiful shapes and designs. And it's like you just pouring it, and you had to cover everything. We had to cover the floor, cover the table, because the paint's just pouring everywhere. And then when you finish, you let it dry, and you have these beautiful paintings. I said, I can paint, and and so the Dharma is like that. When you get into it, you can read one line and just and it's like pouring these paints and let it reveal itself to you, is what I'm saying. And you'll see that it covers all the spaces in your life, not and all the questions in your life, and not just the topic at hand. But you see how everything bleeds into everything else, until you see the whole, the totality of things. And that's how our knowledge comes together, bit by bit, like that, expanding, contracting, shifting, until there is no fixed thing. So the way I think about Shakyamuni Buddha, the way I think about Buddha Master, the way I think about release, Nibbana, the way I think about ultimate attainment is like that. A fathomless, unbinding, and no fixed thing. So he ceased to be a person to me. He's unfettered. He said, I've done what I came to do. You have all you need. Handle your business. And that's what I endeavor to do. Having this kind of resolve in your life puts you on a sure track where you don't have to compare yourself with anybody or anything. One gets secure in their own Buddha nature.